Right, sorry, we're off to a patchy start at the moment. I'm using a new software now because one of my viewers wanted me to put the pictures up on the screen, and essentially by doing that, it's not an easy process. You have to have different things on your computer to do that, frustratingly. Yeah, here I am. Hi, Nick. Sorry, Rick. Hi, Rick. Hi, Sophie. How's it going? So before we get started any further, I've got two questions which have been submitted to me already. One's from Zabik and one is from Imakmal Al-Bati. I probably butchered that name. Apologies if I have. I'll do Zabik's question first because he did ask me quite a few days ago. So his question was, I see a lot of ads about this V-Shred channel method to get lean and muscular. Is it a scam? I think so, but I'm curious your opinion. Thanks. So I had a bit of a chance to dig up this person. I didn't know who they were previously. Based on what I've seen, it is a scam. So they're asking you to provide a limited amount of information as the customer to them, the service provider. Anytime someone does that, it makes me think, how tailored is your plan to you? So bear in mind, I wouldn't say this guy was of a particular merit or qualification or anything at all. I don't see him doing anything of any value, really. He's just a famous public figure. I wouldn't put my faith behind him to create me a diet or training plan, so I wouldn't put my faith in him to do the same for Sophie or Rick or anyone else. So I looked at this guy's physique. This is the V-Shred channel, whoever I don't know what his name is. I had the same physique as him, if not better, when I was 14 years old. So is that someone to aspire to look like? Not really. My physique at 14 years old was good for a 14-year-old, but it wasn't great. It wasn't amazing, you know. The other thing as well, is he enhanced? Therefore, how effective could his program be? Is it that he designs programs for people that are absolute novices or advanced people? These aren't questions that he puts in the pre-interview part of his website. So again, it's not tailored to you. You're not going to get anything out of it. You'll be paying all this money to get nothing. It's beyond me. So if you actually look at his marketing program, so essentially he diagnoses you into one of a few different phenotypes. So the idea is you fit into a category of people. So myself, you might say I'm a mesomorph. You might say Rick was an ectomorph, for example. He's a bit skinnier, quite a tall guy. You know, I don't think there's much truth to that. I think there is something in that we have a disposition to be a certain build, but I think a lot of it is actually in our control. The difficulty of that, however, would be dependent on our genes and our environment, background, and what we do with what we have. So I think in itself, that approach is completely defeatist. It means that if you're an ectomorph, an endomorph, a mesomorph, the idea that your program is going to be tailored to you because of this reason, that's completely stupid, absolutely daft. He also uses sort of marketing tactics. He sort of says, here's your problem, I have the solution. Do you have the solution, V-Shred? I don't think so. I'd like to see this guy get me into incredible shape. Where are his clients? Where are his real clients? Not just the people you've seen posted pictures because they got a free course from him, you know. I want to know his real clients. Who are his testimonials? Yes, like I said, it doesn't take into account your bio individuality, so it's not going to be ideal. That's all I basically say about it. But hopefully that answers Zbignev's question sufficiently. I've got one more question before I move on to everyone else's questions in the chat. So if you want to post them up, just put Q in front of it, then I'm sure it'll be a question. I'll be able to get to it. So the question which was, I was diabetic, brought down my HbA1c from 11.7 in March 2020 to 4.7 in October 2022 for a keto. First of all, good job. I am on 100% zero carb carnivore since September 2022. My C-peptide is 4.9, which is high. Approximately how long will it take to get lower? Months or years? How long essentially is a piece of string? I do not know. But I understand his frustration because when you've improved one marker, you want to improve the rest of them. Ultimately, when you're looking at your blood test and you're someone that has suffered with bad health, you're going to want to improve everything across the board. Ideally, you want everything to be in a range. For those that aren't aware, these ranges are often taken from an unhealthy general population of people. So it's not going to account for a lot of different individual factors, which may mean that some biomarkers are more important than others. If I'm honest, a guess is going to be anywhere from 6 months to several years. Things like HbA1c that he has improved can be quite transient in that they can go up or down in quite a relatively short period of time. Things like the C-peptide, that can take a bit longer, but they're just two different measurements. There's others you can look at. So it might be that your triglycerides are fine. So it might be that you're having no issue at all. Ultimately, how do you feel? Sometimes that can't be the best gauge because obviously that's a subjective measure. So you do some objective measures like the blood tests, but ultimately I think you're going to be looking at a good length of time. That's my personal opinion. You might speak to others and have a different kind of engagement with them. So I'm going to look at the little chat section now. Jerome's here. Nice to see you, Jerome. Nice to see you, Carney Moran. Nice to see you, Nick, as well. Brilliant. Yeah, I picked this time of day because it seems to be most suitable for a lot of people that usually view my channel. So on my analytics, I can see where most of my viewers actually go onto the channel and watch my videos. It does seem to be around 6 p.m., 7 p.m. British time. That just seems the most sense to me to host sort of thing. So I might look at doing more of these in the future at different days, but at the same time, roughly. So question from Sophie is, I'm going to do the lion diet in the week. Are there certain macros I need to hit as a minimum? Or would it be my current macros? Now, Sophie comes from a background where she would occasionally overeat. She's on a weight loss journey. That's my partner, so that's how I know this about her. I think you're going to be looking at keeping roughly the same macros. By having beef and lamb, you're going to be getting your carbs to near enough zero. So you are essentially forcing ketosis to a further degree than normal. However, what I will say is make sure you have enough fat. So even if you're doing the lion diet and say you're doing 20% minced beef or ground beef, then you're doing maybe some lamb every now and then, some lamb chops, just make sure there's enough fat in it. So that means you're going to eat all the fat in the pan and not leave any out. Macros as a minimum. I mean, you're minimizing your usual fatty acid source. So from eating, if you're eating beef and lamb, you're going to be getting a lot of saturated fat, perhaps some mono, a little bit poly. But usually, Sophie, you might be doing some fish as well, so you'll be getting more poly in that. Other fat sources that you have, I know, also have a bit more poly or mono in them. So you're going to be getting a different fat source. So you might notice either an improvement or a net negative. You'll soon know that very quickly. I noticed that myself. I tried the lion diet, so the beef and lamb. When I said I did that the fatty beef and lamb. So I did 75% lean beef and lamb breast, essentially, or ground lamb, which is about 20% fat. So I did the fattier version. I had heart palpitations within 2 days, and they didn't stop, and I didn't like the feeling of it, so I stopped doing it. I didn't notice any overall benefit over what I was doing previously, so it makes me think, is there any benefit to doing that? I don't know. I'm gonna have another look at the questions now. So if you have any further questions on that, just let me know in the chat, and I'll see what I can answer with. Yeah, Rick, you need to save up some money and get some blood tests and start putting out there. I think you'll be one of the best sort of anecdotes to talk about. And granted, you're just one guy living in Florida, but when you've been eating this much meat for this long, you can probably get a bit more oomph behind what you're saying than a lot of people like myself. I've been on and off it for nearly 3 years now, so what's to say I don't have a heart attack next year? Touch wood, I don't. But you see what I mean? If you can do it, anyone else can do it, sort of thing. Yeah. So if you add some beef tallow, what you might try doing, I know you probably don't like heating beef tallow that much, is backloading the fat. So what I mean by that is you'd have the normal beef and lamb meals, maybe your 3 meals a day. Your last meal, you might have a spoon of tallow, or between the meals, you might have a spoon of tallow just to even out. Because when you have a big bolus of fat, some people struggle to digest it properly. So that might be worth a try as well, especially the rendered fats. So the ones that the rendered fat is the fat that is essentially dripped off the meat near enough. It's been cooked out. When you're eating fat from a thick ribeye steak, that's not rendered fat, essentially. Some of it will render, but the fat, the white cap, that is non-rendered fat. So Big Niv asked, is it possible that during fat loss, our body may excrete some toxins, etc., through skin? That's very possible. So when you lose fat, you essentially increase your detoxing. One recommendation I hear from Harry Sopanos is to have a supplement. And this is in one of those cases where you might try it, and that would be to have vitamin E oil supplement. You might not see any benefit from it, but I know yourself, speaking of, you're not overweight, you're quite lean, so you're not going to be dropping a heap of toxins into your body. I'm assuming that you mean the oxalates. And yeah, you're quite right. Anytime your body has a reason to let go of things, it's going to dump things it doesn't need. For example, fat is pretty much redundant energy substrate that you hold in your body. You need a certain amount to a certain degree. But what's going to be more important for chasing down a big animal? Is it going to be muscle tissue or the extra 10% of fat that you're holding? Think about it that way. So yeah, I think you just got a long journey ahead, Zbigniew. I know you suffered a lot in the past of different sort of issues, so you're probably like myself in terms of the skin thing, because I've got some eczema on my wrists that you can see. Perhaps not, but I've noticed my skin is up and down, and that seems to be related to oxalate dumping, and it is phasical. It does happen in cycles. I don't really have a reason why it will stop just yet, but I think it is getting better over time. So I've got a brilliant question by Jerome. Expect nothing less. Thoughts on Vince Stronda's 36 eggs a day for building muscle? I think the 36 bit is a bit arbitrary, in that you can miss some things from having 36 eggs a day if that is your only food. 36 eggs. Trying to picture that now, Christ. I mean, you're going to be getting a lot of sulfuric acids, sulfur amino acids into your gut. For some people, like Bart K, that can be problematic, so they have fewer eggs. It's going to provide you with a lot of cholesterol. So if you've got a lot of healing to do, an example of maybe you've had a severe burn or a major surgery, you might need more cholesterol to help heal. There's also vitamin A, some vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K, B vitamins, the whole lot essentially, that are in eggs, which are very beneficial. The only thing I see that you might lack with just doing eggs, if that's something that someone will try to do, is that you can lack potassium. You'll get some from eggs, but you're going to get more through the meat. So yeah, that's kind of my thought towards it. I mean, a lot of experts, a lot of people like Arnold back in the day would probably do like 20 eggs a day, and they seem to get good results. Specifically for the non-enhanced, i.e. the natural bodybuilders, they're going to get more benefit from doing eggs, I think. Myself, I like eggs. I like maybe 8 to 12 a day, sometimes a few more, sometimes a few less. Yeah, it seems to be quite helpful for me, and it helps my brain function as well, especially if you've got a high necessity for choline and methylation supporting B factors, which would be indicated from a DNA test or a blood test, perhaps. So you might find, like myself, you've got an MTHFR gene polymorphism, which means that you require more folate, which is increased in the body through the uptake of riboflavin, which is found in liver and eggs. I don't like liver that much, so I'm doing eggs. So it's a whole food. You got to think an egg is a whole animal. All right. If you got any more questions on that, Jerome, just ask me. Yeah, Rick's never ill, not once. I think you went to the dentist like 20 odd years ago, didn't you? But that's about it. Hey, Lambs, how's it going? You all right? Nick said, nice one, Jerome. As good as steroids was the claim. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. But I think it's going to be effective, that's for sure. I mean, you're eating a whole animal that would help produce a whole animal, i.e., the human being. So I can only see how it benefit you. Yeah, the eggs are mad expensive right now. Sophie and I have a butcher, which I think we pay £1.60, I think, for 6 eggs, and these are huge eggs. Like when you take the shell off, they're about 75 grams raw, so they're big eggs, and that's something like maybe $2 or something. So it's not, for us, it's quite affordable. So Sophie asked, how long would it take for me to feel positive or negative effects of the Lion diet? As in, how many days? That's a good question. So for me, it's about 3 days, and I felt a negative. Was it that my energy intake wasn't enough? No. I ate exactly the same macros minus the carbs, obviously, from dairy and eggs. I felt wired. I say felt wired. I felt erratic, like I didn't feel calm, like a lot of people say the experience. I didn't feel that at all. So maybe it's something about the omega-3 profile. I don't know. I mean, your omega-3 profile in terms of omega-3 to 6 ratio in your blood takes and cells takes a long time to sort of even out and regulate. It can take in some people months. So I don't know if it is that, but maybe there's something just in eggs and dairy, like the calcium intake, that I need more than other people. Bear in mind, I exercise a lot, so that could be why. I mean, Sophie, you're probably not quite as fragile as I am in terms of your digestive health, so it might be that you can do it for a bit longer. Be interesting to see. I think if you can sustain it for a week with no ill effects, other than maybe some diarrhea or the runs, I think you'll be okay, to be honest. But yeah, I'm not. So if I'm not looking for you to do that for a long period of time. Really, it's a bit restrictive, and I know people say, it's a diet. Food is meant to be fuel, but I think there is an element of enjoying food as well. And if you're just going to eat one or two foods, it might not be the best thing for you in terms of like mental health and enjoying it. So Nick said they are a bit expensive, but if you go to a farm shop, you'll probably find their prices haven't changed much and are generally better quality. Yeah, I think the same, to be honest. I mean, we're lucky that we have the farm shop not far from Sophie's child's school. Her name's Tilly School. Yeah, I was thinking them who it was. Tilly School. So it's quite easy for us to get to. It's a butcher effectively. They do cheese, deli meats, and you can actually get beef bones there. I imagine some offal maybe. So yeah, we're quite lucky to have that. Yeah, Jerome's dry fasting at the moment. He's got a video out at the moment. His username is just his name, Jerome Armstrong. I need to watch that video at some point. I've got about 120 videos on my downloaded watch later playlist. I've just wiped my watch later playlist, so I need to catch up desperately. But when you make YouTube videos, you don't actually end up spending much time watching videos, funny enough. So yeah. I think, yeah, Jerome, it'd be useful if you could document that Geronda egg claim. It might be that you just do a blood test and look at your testosterone and see if it improves at all. I don't know. So Rick's got a question. That's Charger Mopar for anyone that doesn't know. Considering there is a debate now between the nutritional value of cooked versus raw meat, I know this is good. Are there any human studies that you're aware of comparing the two? I have never eaten raw meat. No, there is not one that I know of personally. The argument is that I think Bart's alluded to, I've alluded to, Harry Sparnus has alluded to, is that there is more taurine in raw meat. Now, what I notice of people that do eat raw meat is they end up actually eating a lot less. So is it that there's more nutrients in there, like more energy? I don't know. Most people that I know that eat the raw meat diet are very, very, very frail. Not everyone, probably not, but generally speaking, 90 to 95% of people that I speak to that do have a raw meat diet are very thin. When I say thin, I mean not overly muscular and not overly fat, thin. Yeah, I mean, you've been doing right for 40 years, Rick. I'd probably just do the same thing. I sometimes will undercook things, like somewhat accidentally, but it's not a big deal. I mean, as long as you're cooking meat to the point that you can enjoy eating it, you can stick to the diet. I think that's the key thing which people, I think, miss. So Jerome's paying $4.60 for a dozen cheap eggs. What's that in pounds? £4.20 roughly. Maybe £4. That is a bit expensive, especially if they're like not great eggs, like the barn ones, whatever. Yeah, they limit the eggs over here to 3 cartons. So what Sophie and I will end up doing if we ever get desperate and need to go to a supermarket is we'll do 2 or 3 shops each. So she'll go in and I'll go in. She'll go in again through self-service checkout. Then I'll go again through self-service checkout and see how we get on. Yeah, nice joke, Nick. I like that. Yeah, Jerome, you know me. I appreciate that because not many people in like the online physique fitness sort of circles know this original OG sort of stuff. So I like that. I appreciate it. Thank you. Be good to get some more of that information out, actually, I think, at some point. Like, talk more about the full body split and how it might be useful for some people. Because I know a lot of people now do like the bro split where they're doing like Monday chest, Tuesday back, Wednesday rest, Thursday legs, Friday shoulders and arms, whatever it is. I think that's probably not optimal unless you've got all the muscle mass that you're looking to put on. You're probably not going to gain much more by splitting up that way. Yeah, I digress. So Ben Sherman's got a good question here, I'm sure. So hi Ben, nice to see you. After much experimenting and 1 year carnivore so far, I found my diet requires 20 to 30 grams of salt per day to avoid issues. Is this too much salt in your opinion? This is an interesting question. So I know that there is a population out there, whether that be past or present, I cannot remember for the life of me, but they're taking in something like 50 grams of salt per day. Did they die of heart attacks? No. Is it that your genes are much like theirs? I don't know. Is it that you sweat a lot because you live in the middle of the Sahara Desert? I don't know. Do people that live in the Sahara Desert need 30 grams of salt a day? I don't know. Probably not. I'm thinking this is more due to like your fat adaptation. So maybe you need to become more fat adapted. So look at increasing your fat intake. Just a wild speculation here, not based on really much evidence. The other thing as well is, are you drinking a heap load of salt? Sorry, drinking a heap load of water. I notice people that drink 9-10 liters a day tend to oversalt their food because they dilute their cellular system so much that they need more salt to keep that regulated and balanced. If you're doing the carnivore diet, which you are, then also look at your diet and see, are you eating enough meat to provide you with enough taurine to regulate your electrolyte balance? So that's 2 things I'm looking at. But you say it's helping you to avoid issues, so maybe you're fine. I mean, we're all a little bit different. We all have different polymorphisms, and that's affected by epigenetics. So it could be that you need more salt than some people. I'm just like you, Ben. I have a quite high salt intake, generally speaking. Not as much as I used to, though, but I do go on the high side of salt, I think. So Nick asked, do you ever watch Golden Era Bookworm? It's a great channel if you're interested in Golden Era bodybuilding. And that's some great interviews with classic bodybuilders like Tom Platz. No, I don't. I haven't actually heard of that one. That's pretty interesting, actually. I need to add that on. If you remind me, Nick, after this channel, send me a message on Instagram or something, and I'll have a little look. Cheers for that. Another good channel for you guys to follow is called House of Hypertrophy. So they create, well, he creates a long format video, maybe 20 to 40 minutes, and it goes through several different scientific studies and basically provides his idea of what the consensus is on the science of hypertrophy. He does that for different body parts, different techniques. So his videos are very well thought out and they're well designed. So I'd recommend you follow him. He's got over 100,000 subscribers. He's House of Hypertrophy. So Rick said, I do occasionally eat raw liver marinated in sour oranges or limes. Rick, out of interest, what liver do you have? Is it chicken or lamb or something? And is it that you do that to alter the taste, or is the taste fine? You just like the citrus fruits? I'm interested to know. So Sophie's kindly donated £2 to my small, humble YouTube channel. Appreciate that. Thank you. It's always nice to see when you get a little. I mean, these amounts of money, they sound trivial, but when you look at your YouTube content creators' income each month, you're looking at a small amount of money. So even this £2 that Sophie's kindly donated me, it will add up. You know, I'm looking at getting 70% of that by the time YouTube's taken their cut. So it does help. That's roughly the cost of a pack of eggs. So Sophie's kindly given me, in my eyes, a pack of 6 eggs. So cheers for that. So Jerome's added to that, Ben. So he said, the book The Salt Fix by James De Nicolo Antonio is an excellent read. Historically, we've eaten more salt than we currently do. I'd highly recommend it. Yeah, I think the thing with salt is, I've got a video on it. Too much salt will make you more thirsty. How much is too much salt? That is the amount that makes you too thirsty, as in you're chugging back water beyond norm. How do you know you're chugging back water beyond norm? You're thirsty at points of the day when you shouldn't be thirsty. So listen to your body like that. That's what I think. Cheers, Nick. Appreciate that. Spen said, yeah, my ancestry is mostly coastal with heaps of fish and seafood. Makes sense. It may be genetic. Yeah, so I know a lot of people that come from regions of the world where they have a lot of seafood. I think, at least my ancestry is that I came from an area where they did have a lot of fish. Even if they're inland, they're still having river fish. I think it would make sense to create a sort of like habitat in the environment around us that had fish around us. You know, with rivers, you got a flowing stream of food. All you got to do is stick your net in or whatever it is, or spear. You've got some food. That can be quite advantageous, like if you think about it logically, versus having to, you know, catch animals, breed them, and do that sort of thing. You know, if you got a fresh food source there, it's gonna be brilliant. And I know a lot of people did actually back in the day. They did use a lot of salting methods to preserve their food. So they'd essentially get a big bucket like that of salt, and they just put fish in it, like raw, like the fillet or whatever it is. Yeah, they did do that, and they seem to be fine. A bit salty for some people, but your salt taste will be different person to person. So Raymond Z, Ray Z, is a new client of mine. He's a great guy from over the pond. I'll say over the near pond. I believe it's the Netherlands. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but yeah, he's got some goals that he's trying to reach soon at the moment, and he suffers with type 1 diabetes. So he'll be a great client to work with, and I've seen the way he thinks about things, and he's going to be someone that sticks to it and does the job and does the good work. So yeah, I'm glad to have him on board. So I'm very grateful for that and for his custom. So Rick said likes beef liver raw or overcooked. Interesting, fair enough. So Alicia's kindly given up her time to visit my small channel. Anyone that doesn't follow Alicia, please do. Her channel is her name there. So you type in YouTube Baroness of Beef, which is a bit weird, but you know, just go along with it and subscribe to her and say I sent you or whatever. But yeah, she's right. So Lamb said, did you ever run into electrolyte issues starting the carnivore diet? Funny enough, I didn't really, but when I did start it, I was taking like electrolyte powders and things. But I don't think that made a difference, because if you think about it logically, say you're going from the standard American diet to the carnivore diet, you're affecting your electrolyte balance because you're not putting as much glucose into your system from the form of carbohydrates. Therefore, you don't need as much insulin, but your body has to get rid of the excess water from your body. How well it retains that water is probably quite individual. So that's why I think some people have electrolyte issues and some people don't. I think ultimately, if you've got enough taurine in your diet, you're not going to have many issues, if any. And I'm not sure. I mean, electrolytes, they're a thing your body does want to balance well, and it's going to throw a lot of warning signs at you to enable your body to balance it out. So I mean, if you have them, you'll know about it. I personally didn't have them, to my knowledge. So everyone just rambling now in the chat. Jerome said, "Bison makes you looking thin after surgery." Yeah, I mean, I'm virtually exactly the same weight I was prior to surgery, and the same body fat and the same muscle mass. I'm very heavily affected by inflammation. I've had a lot of dairy the last few days, so my face is actually more puffy than it usually is. The camera does add 10 pounds to you. So when I look at myself in the camera, I'm not as fat as what I am in the mirror in the bathroom. It's weird. Oh, and you've also given me $5 American. I appreciate that. Thank you. I know that's quite a lot of your income, Jerome. I know how much you charge. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so if anyone doesn't know, I do membership to my channel. Usually I'll add people on social media if they join, and they can chat with me if they want. I don't know why people would want to, but they can if they want. Yeah. Yeah, Nick makes a good point about the protein. So yeah, when I started the carnivore diet, my protein was very high. It was over 500 grams. So you got to think that's a lot of insulin. Your body's gonna reduce some of that into the form of glucose through gluconeogenesis, regardless, because it's over 500 grams. So yeah, my body was secreting enough insulin in each meal to bump electrolytes to where they need to be. So what people don't realize is the hormones that your body produces is closely related to the electrolyte balance that your body holds. So that's why it's significant to have enough protein. And when I say enough protein, I mean enough protein. I don't mean have a kilo of chicken per meal or kilo of beef. I'm talking enough. So the amount that you need depends on you. It could be anywhere from maybe 1 gram per, I don't know, off my top of my head, maybe guess 1 gram per kilo to maybe 3 or 4 grams. No one that is on this chat will be eating 3 to 4 grams of protein per kilogram body weight, unless they want to do it as an experiment. That's reserved for athletes that have an extreme energy output, that have a lot of muscle damage from the training they do eccentric loading, they're very busy. They're trying to eke out every drop of benefit they can get from the diet. So yeah. So if you said the scales he uses doesn't measure metal weight, yeah, sadly they don't. I'll be interested to see how much metal I've got in me. From my reading, I've got probably 300 to 400 grams of extra metal in me, so I've actually lost weight effectively. If you're talking about like organic mass, so yeah, I actually felt the incision point last night. For anyone who doesn't know, I've mentioned this probably somewhere different before, but there's people in the chat probably don't know. I had a spinal fusion surgery, laminectomy, and discectomy for 3 or 4 weeks ago. They cut 2 slits in the bottom of my spine where the lumbar muscles are. Effectively went in and they did their work. I've essentially now got 4 bolts and 2 rods in the base of my spine. I can feel them when I touch back there, sort of thing. I can feel 2 little bolts down there, and like a rod like that on each side. It feels a bit weird, to be honest. It doesn't feel weird like I thought it would. It didn't feel like it would shock me or scare me, but it did feel quite strange because you've got something in your body that's not usually there, you know. Yeah, Jerome, you're pretty funny. Yeah, most of us bodybuilders do have egos. We're quite terrible people to deal with, oftentimes. We're often guilty of thinking our time is more important than other people's time, and that our mass is the best, sort of thing. We're the biggest people going. And yeah, I lost that ego a long time. So yeah, nothing like that really digs at me. I quite like that sort of humor, actually. Being British, you know. Yeah, so Lambs found out it was the potassium that he was deficient in that got rid of the issue. Lambs, interestingly, is it that your diet now has more potassium in it because of that? Or does your diet now have the same potassium that you started with? So have you still maintained the high potassium level in your diet, either through supplements or without? He's a cyborg now. Yeah, I do feel a bit metal sometimes. I mean, it's strange because I can't do some things yet. So I can get to ground level on one knee, but I can't go on my front, for example, in a push-up position. I can do an incline push-up, bent against a bench. My movements are very robotic, and I have to move my body in sync. I can't really like twist my body too far around each side. So I've noticed that, which is quite strange. Yeah, I set off shop alarms. I don't know if it's me or the wheelchair or crutches I use, but it does seem to work. Yeah, it's Nick quoted David Jason, who used to say Rodney on what do you call it? Only Fools and Horses. So Rodney was always the victim of all the jokes. So anything that went wrong ever was like Rodney's fault, and he'd get blame, and Rodney would look at him like, "What do I do?" You know? Yeah. So if you bought me a nice pig, I'll actually go show you. Hold on, I'm back in 10 seconds. Yes, this is the pig that Sophie got me. It's pretty good. I'm quite interested in pigs. Disappointingly, only 3 kisses on the back. Not best pleased. Yeah, everyone doesn't know I like pigs a lot, so I don't eat pork either. That includes bacon. I'll cook pork for people, but I won't eat it. That's my only speciesist bias I have. It doesn't make much sense to a lot of people, but I don't know, just me. So lamb's up the meat since then, so it's probably it. Yeah, it could well have been. I mean, what you probably need is more potassium for whatever reason. That's just you. That's completely normal. It might be that your idea of enough meat back then was too low, so it might be that your meat intake now is normal. Who knows? Who knows? All you need is a proper study on the carnivore diet. One that shows what happens at the start, what problems people have, how long it takes to go over them. You can really start to conclude it down and almost create a book out of it. That'd be quite useful. Yeah, Rick, I used to like ducks as well. I like pigs too, but on the stove. No comment. Yeah, no bacon or pork chops for me. I don't know. I don't even like the taste. I mean, I've had like sausages before, like pork sausages, and I always thought, oh, if once I try it, I might like it. No, I tried it. I didn't like it. I bit into it, and I thought the fat taste didn't sit right with me. The smell didn't sit right with me. So that's two signals that make me aware that I perhaps shouldn't eat it. I don't know. So yeah, I have the same thing, not quite of lamb, but I don't have a problem eating lamb, but I find if I eat too much lamb, I feel a bit nauseated. And this is actually quite common in the carnivore community. I don't know if it's the nutrient density of lamb or what, but lamb tastes good up to a very specific point. Yeah, I don't dig on swine. Oh yeah, Rick, you're a human being. I mean, the thing is, I see a pig as almost like a dog. I know they're not dogs, but when I see a pig, I think, oh, that's a cute little house pet. I don't know if I'd have a pig as a house pet, but that's my thought process. You can't change someone's thought process, but that's why I see it. But yeah, I mean, a duck is a food, isn't it? If you think about it, I mean, ducks are generally speaking domesticated animals. They didn't get here by chance. They've been bred into modern day existence. So you got to think it is more moral and ethical to eat ducks than I think pigs, perhaps. But I don't know. That's just me. I don't have a problem with someone eating pigs. To be honest, it doesn't affect me. What they do is their own business. So Lamb's said it sits better with me than beef for some reason. Maybe it's the B vitamins my body wants. Lambs, it could be. I mean, we know that pork has a lot of vitamin B1, thiamine, quite a bit more than actually beef or lamb. So maybe you need more of that. I mean, B1's quite depleted in those that have a high carbohydrate intake prior to the carnivore diet, in that you need a lot of B1 to synthesize carbohydrates into glucose. So that'd be my guess. That's a guess. I'm not basing it on facts, but that'd be a guess. Yeah, Sophie, we need to sort this home gym out first, then get a pigsty next to it or something. That'd be good. I had a duck as a house and a yard pet for 15 years. Wow. That's actually quite impressive. I like that. Yeah, if anyone has any more questions, just put them below. Or even if you've got an interesting statement to make about your diet or something interesting you noticed recently, or even your training, perhaps. I try to be multifaceted in this channel and talk about different things besides, just the carnivore diet. The carnivore diet is one of many levers we can pull to improve our health and better our physique outcomes. Yeah, Ben, it's interesting that. I mean, I'm sure there's someone out there that can underpin why that happens. We know that lamb has more omega 3 than omega 6 by ratio than beef. But the thing is, if that was true, why can I eat heaps of oily fish, which has lots of omega 3, but I can't eat heaps of lamb? Or is it the taste? Is it something mental, like the smell, something I'm not consciously aware of that puts me off eating a lot of it? Maybe that's why. I don't know. Jerome has over 20 pounds of bacon in his freezer right now. All right. No comment. So Rick said, I like to cook pork shoulder in a pot with water. No spices. Love the taste. The fat is tasty too. Is that slow cooked, Rick, out of interest? Are you putting that on low and slow? Jerome's off now. Thanks very much for coming on and your kind donation to my small channel. I appreciate that. We'll have to do some more series soon on bodybuilding and training, so that'll be at least something I'm looking forward to. So just ping me over a message whenever you want, and I'll set it up for you. Your channel or mine, I don't mind. I don't care. Whatever you want. So Sophie has a question for now. So I have a question for the viewers. No offense will be taken. Do you prefer live chats with just Jonathan or with me and Jonathan? Want you guys to get the best out of his channel. So what Sophie's really saying here is you prefer the live chats with Sophie because she's insecure that maybe I get all the attention. No, I'm kidding. I'll reverse that question as well. So do I prefer doing a live with other people, as in with Sophie or with Bart or whoever else or whatever it is? Or do I like doing it myself? I quite like doing it with someone else because it gives you a point of reference that what you're saying is correct or incorrect. And if I'm saying all incorrect things and I look at Sophie and Sophie looks at me like, well, she nudges my knee, I can think, okay, maybe don't go down that sort of path. It's helpful to have that like live feedback. I mean, I do prefer actually doing it with other people. I liked having lots of questions as well, something I can dig my teeth into because I think a lot of people have questions, and that's why I want to do more lives now because they have a very specific question which will apply to them. Oftentimes, I'll know people in the chat to be able to understand their situation, so I can actually say, "Okay, this is what you should do," or "This is what I think is your problem." You know. Yeah. So Rick's slow cooking most of his meat. Rick, do you do that with? I guess you do have like beef joints, ground beef. Do you find it digests much better? Because I notice that when my meat is slow cooked, like my beef joints, I do notice it digests better. So Rick likes the chats with both me and Sophie in them, as do I. She said no because I don't know the answers to questions you get asked. So after all this time, I've worked out how to do this. Sorry about that, guys. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, it's the best. Nick's got some really good advice there. So the best way to get well versed in something and understand things is to throw yourself at it. I mean, I spoke with Bart K something like 6 months ago now, 5 months ago, and I went on his channel. I was a bit terrified at first, and I did script the hell out of it. What I found over time is when I've got something to talk about, or I've got a point of reference, for example, in this case, a question, I can speak a bit better than if I'm to create a video on my own. So what I'd like to do at some point is do a video entirely on training, and that'd be a Q&A entirely on training, entirely on maybe biohacking or something a bit nuanced. I'd like to do that at some point. Then people can look to different avenues to get the answers they might want. It's nice to have two perspectives on a topic. Bart and Pim is a better combo than Bart alone. Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, Bart in himself is very entertaining, but it's like having a football team. If you're going to have a football team with just a striker, you're not going to please the audience and you're not going to get a good game. So you're going to have, the goalkeeper, the defenders, midfielders. I think it's kind of the same thing. And Pim's actually stepping down from working with Bart on the live chats. It's not my place to really say, but she said to me she's a bit tired of it. She wants to sort of put her time elsewhere, really, which is completely fair enough. That's her decision. She's recommended that I go on Bart's channel to do the live as well, which I'd be quite happy to. I'm not as succinct and well versed in physiology as Bart is by any means, but it can provide some insights that perhaps other people can't, especially when it comes to like bodybuilding. Especially when it comes to actually doing it myself, and that I have competed as a top amateur bodybuilder. I have won several shows. I am junior Mr. Wales or something a few years back. So, I have some commendations behind my name. So I have my own little niche of knowledge, and that is around training and diet, particularly the carnivore diet. So, yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know, Sophie's undertaking a nutrition course I've advised her to do. It does have the outlines of a good course. Some of it is a bit iffy. They still think carbs are essential, but it does underpin the scientific basis behind the physiology, the biochemistry of diet, how it kind of interacts with disease, essentially. So that'd be useful for her. The majority of the people that I work with on a consultation and coaching basis, they do have severe health issues. When I say severe, it could be diabetes, Burning Man syndrome, perhaps. That was a recent lady I spoke to, actually. Rheumatoid arthritis comes up a lot. Severe allergies, histamine issues, bone disorders, cognitive health issues, addictive eating patterns, lots of different things. So Sophie said, no one asked me a complicated question yet on the next live Q&A. What I think you'll find is that people ask you questions relative to the field that you're interested in or you're talking about. So with me on my channel, they're going to ask me questions about training, building the best body. I'm someone that has built a relatively decent physique using training. So I have experience and knowledge to talk about that. If you were to ask me about eating behaviors, maybe addiction, binge eating, I would redirect you to Pim's channel. I'm not an expert in that. It comes with territory. So the same thing, I've put people towards Bart's channel for different things as well. So you'll find, Sophie, that your expertise will be something different to mine. It might be that you're more relatable to a lot of people, like you mentioned before. So it might be that there's mums out there trying to lose weight. Maybe you're looking for dietary advice or tricks to get young children into a different diet from what they're doing currently. So your approach will be different to mine. So it doesn't mean you're any worse than me. I mean, you're probably able to relate to more people than I am. I mean, I'm a carnivore, autistic, spinal fusion person, warrior bloke from England. I'm not that relatable. How many people have autism? How many people are bodybuilders? Not many. Now, how many people are mums? How many people are overweight trying to lose weight? How many people have children that are trying to get them on a better diet? There's a lot more people. So Sophie, eventually you'll probably overtake me on my own channel. Wouldn't surprise me. I've got a lot of faith in you anyway. So Rick said, I just let others interview me, much easier. That's a good point, because when you're talking about yourself, it becomes a bit easier. And it's hard for some people because they don't realize that you're the topic of conversation. But I've been watching Rick's recent interviews and he's very good at it. He answers the question very well. He provides a lot of useful information around that as well, which is great. So Ben asked, is there a benefit in added cardio with a strength training protocol? Probably not. I'd have to ask more questions about that. So what is your current goal? If you are for example, you're a competitive cyclist or you do mountain biking as a career, I don't know. Your training will be dictated by that. So you're going to be cycling up mountains. You're going to be using the same techniques that you would in your given interest in that. So it might be that you excite yourself for a minute, then you do a slow cycle for a minute. That's if your terrain is dictated by that. The same thing applies if you're trying to build strength. So I'm guessing that isn't your goal and that you're trying to build strength. So I'd say not. The only cardio I really advise anyone to do is the normal daily activity that they do already. So for me, a normal daily activity, for example, if I was able to go to the gym now and I could cycle and do my usual performances, my daily activity would be a 15-minute bicycle ride, slow, there and back. It might be walking around the shops. It might be walking the dog. So if you get to a point where you're adding in cardio, I'd be a bit reluctant to sort of advise that, because you're telling your muscles to do two different things. It's very difficult to train muscles to become a different muscle type, despite what people might think. But I still think if you're telling your body to do one thing in a certain signal, that will cascade downstream to then eliminate the benefits you'd have from the other signal you're giving it. So you're going to get a mismatch of results. So your strength training is going to be the main thing, in my opinion. If that's your goal, to build a body or become stronger. As for what training you need to do for strength training, that's going to be something like myself or Bart can create for you in a training plan. It's not my business how much Bart charges. I don't have a clue personally, or if you consult with him, I don't know. He might be able to offer you a program, explain it to you for a consultation. You'll be set. Myself, I can say for myself, I charge, I believe it's £22 for a training program. And what else do I do? Consultations are, 40-minute consultation is £17. So you're looking at $20 for each, near enough, something around there. So yeah, I've got a good question here. Bart is calculating protein intake from height, right? What's your recommendation for building muscle in grams as per height in centimeters? So I'm thinking the same as Bart. However, I have a question for him upcoming in an interview soon, which is around exactly that point: the protein intake per centimeter of height. So Bart recommends 1.75 grams of protein per centimeter of height as an absolute maximum for anyone. He said the way you can also do it is, I believe it is 1.75 grams per kilo of lean mass, maybe. I can't remember, something like that. You have to look at one of my older videos where I've asked him this sort of question. It'll be on my channel somewhere. But what am I thinking? I'm thinking it's around there, or perhaps a bit more. Now, the reason I say that is, this is why I'm going to ask Bart the question, so I can see what he thinks. There's not an exact correct answer. There's just a inference towards a certain range that most people think is right. If we all knew the answer, we'd all say the exact amount. So my problem is I'm eating around 200 grams of protein a day at the moment, and that seems to be just about enough. There's been times in weeks past where I've done maybe 250 some days, or if I went 200 grams for too long, which for me is my lower end, or generally speaking, I've been doing quite well, but my lower end and normal in terms of what I've been doing for a long time, I found that my appetite for protein goes up every now and then. As in, I can do 200 grams for a few days or a few weeks, maybe. All of a sudden, I'll just have a few days where I have to bounce it right up. Now, I don't know if that's because I need more protein, vitamins found within the protein of the animal meat, or is it another reason? So there's two things I can think of. Because I know that my hunger signaling is appropriate as long as I'm fed enough of protein and fat. So my question to him would be around those sort of lines. I hope that makes sense, Nick. I'm someone that's done up to 550 grams of protein a day at one point. I was over 500 grams for 9 months prior to my last bodybuilding competition. I did that to fend off any hunger I could possibly get. I did find some actual benefit from it in doing that. Did I need 500 grams of protein to recover? No. But then again, it's just my experience. So there's a Heart Attack Grill restaurant though. So Rick, my brother actually, Carl, he went to the Heart Attack Grill and he ordered the smallest meal you could get there. So I think it was a burger patty with cheese, onion rings, and maybe some French fries or something. He could barely finish that meal. He finished it because he paid for it and he wanted to finish it, but he said to me he could barely finish it. He really struggled to get it down. So I'm thinking, is it really going to be, actually my question would be, would I be able to do it? Because I'd be interested to see, and I can eat as much food as I want. Like if I rely on my hunger signals, I can eat a normal amount of food. Normal to me is, depending on what my energy requirement is at the time. What I would like to know is it that if I had maybe, I don't know, 8 burgers or something, 8 burger patties with cheese sliced in each, would I eat that then I go way over my energy intake, then I'm not hungry the next day. So that's something I'm not sure. I don't know. Be interesting to find out. Yeah, Rick, if you had any social media, you'd be able to send me some of these pictures out of interest. It'd be quite cool to see. And Rick, as well, what do you use to take your photos? Because I know you don't own a phone. Do you use like a photography sort of camera? Is in a proper camera? Yeah, Lamb. So I did what you wanted. The only thing is it cuts my head off like that. So I have to sit up a bit. Yeah, the only thing about this Lambs is I've got to remember to bring them up on the screen. So on my right hand side, which is probably your left on the screen, I've got a long feed of comments. So I can read everyone's comments and if they leave a donation at all. Then on that I can click a button which says show, but I keep forgetting to do that. So that's, I guess, where having a co-host like Sophie would come in useful right now. So Rick uses a camcorder or a tablet. Okay, that's cool. All right, guys. So I'm going to go in about 5 or 6 minutes, just to let you know. If you have any questions or you don't have any more questions, just put them on the screen now. If I'm not here, just assume that I've cancelled it and shut it down because I'm very tired. So Nick asked, is it worth experimenting with the amount of 324 grams of protein based on the 3 to 4 grams per kilo amount? I'd have to see your training, Nick. My only problem with doing the high protein amounts is that what were you doing initially? Now you're probably around 200 grams or something around that. I don't know. If you're going to increase it by, I don't know, 60% or 160%, what is that? What is that going to do for your guts? I don't know. I'll be skeptical about doing it if I was you. I seemed quite tolerant of it actually at the time. I don't know why, but I didn't have any constipation issues or anything. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I might do another one of these later this week, these live chats. If not, I will do one perhaps next Monday or Tuesday and see how I get on. The only thing about this is you're staring at a screen. You need enough lighting as well so you can see me. So I need the lights on quite bright, which is quite frustrating. Hence why I've got the blue blockers on at the moment. Nick, what you might find is if you're going to do 324 protein, that if you try and match that with fat to get a relatively even macro ratio split, you might find that you're eating a lot of food and you might get fat. Because what people won't tell you in the carnivore community, which I don't know why, because it seems very obvious to me, is if you eat too much protein, you'll become fat. If you eat too much fat, you'll become fat. If you eat too much carbs, you'll become fat. You know, all these things can downstream turn into fat. Yeah, Nick, you're probably looking around 200 grams or less, I'd imagine. I'll probably go on the 1.75 gram per centimeter of height thing for you because that's about right, probably. I know you do train quite hard, but see how you get on with that. If your recovery is fine and you know you're not doing a leg day and becoming sore for a week, you know you're probably doing all right for protein. You'll see long term anyway after 2 months of doing, say, 150, 180 protein or whatever you happen to be doing. You'll get feedback from your body that you're eating too little. Then you'll increase it. Then give it 2 or 3 weeks, see what happens. If there's any improvement in any symptoms you have, then increase it again if there is an improvement. Or something else could be a problem. So it could be an issue in your recovery as well. So when I make these recommendations to people, I want people to understand that I will often have to ask a lot of questions prior to giving a proper answer. because it'd be irresponsible of me just to say, okay, Nick, try 324 grams of protein. You know, I don't want that on my back, sort of thing. If he could have an ill effect from doing a diet that I recommended, because ultimately people are coming onto this channel to get a bodybuilder's expertise on diet or training. If I do something and they follow it and they don't get a good result or they become unwell, that's, although it's not really my fault because they've done it, I still take some blame for it. So I don't really want that. So I've got to be a bit more conservative than a lot of people that you might see online, advertising a lot of each individual food per day. No comments on that. Yeah, so Sophie will be here on next Monday or Tuesday in front of the camera instead of on the chat. I still expect your weekly pittance of £2 to be donated kindly to my small, humble YouTube channel. And actually, Nick, I think you're right there. I think this is a consultation issue, and you should head above somewhere to my website and book in a consultation. Quite affordable, actually, £17 British for 40 minutes. In that time, you'll be usually able to explain your complete diet and training background, your history. Then I'll ask you a series of bizarre questions based on what you tell me. And then I'll be able to come up with something that you can work with. From that point, you then try it for a few weeks, then see how you get on. If I've set you on the perfect plan initially, then brilliant. You won't get back to me for another 2 months until you plateau and hit a stumbling point. So then in that case, you're to them by another consultation. So it's never ending loop. So what I work with when I'm consulting people is giving them the right true advice initially. I don't like to mess up, because then it means they don't get the outcome they want and they can't recommend me. I don't currently have a single client that does not recommend me. Why are there not more recommendations? Well, you can ask them, because a lot of them do appear in these chats, or you can look at my testimonials page on website, or if you go further back, there's probably heaps somewhere online, somewhere, I don't know, but yeah. Yeah, so Sophie's looking to take on some consultations herself, because understandably not for any fault of my own that I can think of, but it sometimes can be easier to approach a female about a given issue than a male. There are a lot of coaches, even male or female, in this industry. I am currently the cheapest by a mile. Currently around 2 times cheaper per unit of time than one of the leading people in our industry. That, you know, a young chap, you'll know who I'm about, eats a lot of raw meat at the moment. Oh, thanks, Lambs. That means a lot. Yeah, so Lamb said I did a good job mine. Yeah, it's quite tricky when you're on your own, because the only feedback you get is what you read on the screen. So you're relying on reading on the screen quick enough, then responding to other questions and points as well. So there's that aspect to it as well. I'm going to get a lot better at it, but this is the first time I've done this on my own, because any other time I've done this has been, I'm trying to think now, through Harry's perhaps, where he's been live, or I've been on a live with Sophie. So yeah, I'm looking to get a lot better at this, but my concern isn't the knowledge that I have around training and diet, bodybuilding specifically, but it's the way I put out the information. So if at any point I don't explain something well enough, I won't take criticism and you saying I don't understand, please go into more detail about this XYZ. By all means do ask, because you know a lot of you guys do pay me behind the scenes sort of thing to help you out with different things. So I completely get that, and do ask a secondary question if I haven't answered your question at any point. All right, guys, so I'm going to finish up the stream now. It's been great to have you on. I'll probably see you at some point, perhaps later this week, if Sophie lets me. If not, it'll be either Monday or Tuesday next week. And what I'll try and do is keep it on a regular sort of pattern. So each week you can either submit your questions to me, you can email them to me, go from my website, contact me through social media. Any questions you have, direct them to me, then I can put them on my list, which I'll then answer in the next Q&A at the start. That way, if you don't have time to watch a video and find your answer on the screen, just go ahead and send me that my way. Brilliant. So thanks very much, everyone. You have a good evening. It's 11 minutes past 8 here tonight, so I'm going to get some shut-eye soon, and I'll speak to you all soon. I've got a few videos coming up this week. One is on training. I believe that is tomorrow. Another on a carnivore cooking sort of thing. Sophie and Tilly filmed that. That's about, I think it's carnivore waffles. And another one on autism. So you might find that useful as well. I'm sure I have probably the most autistic followers of nearly any YouTube carnivore channel at the moment, other than the Autistic Carnivores Meat Mosaic group. So yeah. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.